Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Well, what do you get when you take a pretty reliable platform, make it a double stack 45 ACP, optics ready with suppressor height sights and a threaded barrel? Well, what you get is the FN 545 Tactical. It's an interesting handgun with a lot of interesting features. We're going to talk about all that in just a minute. Alright, once again, welcome back. Thanks for being with us today. If this is your first time coming to the channel, or if you've been watching our videos and just haven't had a chance to do so before now, and you like our content, please consider subscribing. You can locate that subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your computer screen there, or if you're on a mobile device, you can simply scroll down below the video and you can hit the subscribe button that way. It's a simple thing that helps out a whole lot, and we really appreciate it. So, FN 545 Tactical. There are people that aren't fans of 45 ACP for a lot of reasons, and I get that. Personally, I like 45 ACP. I can shoot it well. I can shoot it consistently, accurately through a lot of different platforms. And I like it. It's also a round that's available that I can find. And, you know, with some of the shortages and difficulty with ammo, to me that matters. And FN has been coming out with a lot of pistols that I really like that have been very reliable. So to see this double stack 45 come out, I was actually very interested. So we're going to get into it here. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind right from the very beginning is this is not a small handgun. Okay, if you're planning to carry this, which we'll discuss in the carry section, you're definitely going to want to be prepared with a very good quality holster and kind of keep in mind the weight that you're going to be dealing with. So just to give you a little comparative analysis here. So there's another little FN that I like to carry quite frequently, and that's my 509 Tactical, and the compact Tactical here. And it has a lot of similar features to the 545, but look how much smaller it is. And the reason I bring this up is because this 509 compact Tactical, this is about on the high end of size for what I will carry. I can carry, you know, a pretty large gun if I dress the right way, you know, good belt, an undershirt, and a, you know, maybe a shirt on the outside. I can cover a pretty good sized gun, but as far as just comfort, the weight and size of something like this, even in a really good quality holster, you're going to know you've got something this big on your hip. So by comparison, you're really going to know you have something this heavy on your hip. I just want people to have a realistic expectation. It's a big handgun. You know, look at it, you can see the width. It's a very beefy, very good size gun. You can see the grip. And like I said, you can see the similarities. You can see the suppressor sight heights, the protective wings on either side of it. We'll get into all that with the features. But just looking at it here, you can see that you're dealing with a pretty good size handgun. And since obviously we're looking at all of these guns potentially as a carry gun, that's something you're definitely going to want to consider. We're going to jump right into the features here, but before we do, we want to take a moment to thank our friends over at Don's Weaponry for providing us this beautiful example of the FN 545 Tactical for our tabletop review today. Don's Weaponry is a huge supporter of firearms safety and education, and we can't thank them enough. So, I always like to do this in kind of a top-down fashion as far as the features, but first thing we're going to do is show you that we're clear to do a quick safety check here. Remove our magazine. I'm going to keep these handy because that's the first thing we're going to talk about is capacity. Okay, so obviously this is a 45 ACP handgun. Now, this is a double stack, and as you can see, this is a 15-round magazine. Now, that is kind of unheard of for a 45 ACP. Most of your 45 handguns have got quite a bit smaller capacities, you know, closer to what a 911 would be, in the interest of keeping them smaller. It also comes with a 18-round magazine. So if you're carrying the extended magazine for this firearm, you have a capacity of 18 plus 1, which is, that's a lot of 45 ACP. But anyway, you can see that we are clear. There's nothing in the chamber. We are totally safe and good to go here. So, looking at the top, the first thing you'll notice, of course, is the sights. You do have suppressor height sights for this firearm, and you'll see you've got these little protective wings on either side on your rear sight. I like that. If for some reason you drop the handgun, which in real world situations that can happen. Guns that actually get used have scratches on them, and if you drop this, that's a little something there to keep your sight from getting knocked out of place. I like the setup. Like I say, the way they have this done here, you've got your tritium night sights, and you have your optics plate, and you're able to co-witness a good number of common optics with this without any extra work. They even give you plates, everything you need to adapt the handgun to the different optics. So it's very nice. Of course, you've got your threaded barrel here. You've got some pretty good serrations on the front and rear. You can really get into these pretty easy even with gloves on. You have your accessory rail. If you are the type of individual that likes to have lights, lasers, or other accessories on the front of your handgun, you can do that very easily with this. You have your slide, stop, and release here. Of course, just like that, it is ambidextrous, as you can see. To take this gun apart, your takedown lever is right here. From the locked position, you can simply rotate this lever down. You can release your slide lock here, and then the whole thing will just push forward and off. And of course, once you have it disassembled, you can, your rod and spring are right there. You can tip out and you can do the rest of what you need to do there. Of course, you'll need to take your thread protector off if you are going to take it all the way down. That way the barrel can, pass through and come out of the frame there. And then you simply rotate your lever, of course, back up, and then you're good to go. So it's a very simple takedown process. The trigger, I really like the trigger on a lot of the new FN stuff that's coming out. When the 509 came out and I first shot that gun, I was so impressed with the trigger that I pretty much exclusively carried the 509 over everything else, and I still feel that way. The 545 trigger is just as nice. They say it's supposed to come in at around 6 pounds, and that's pretty close to what I got using my scale. It's a little higher than that sometimes, like just a hair over 6, but pretty close altogether. The design of this grip, now you got to remember this is a double stack, so if you have a little tiny hand, this grip is going to feel pretty beefy in your hand, because I have pretty good size hands, and it's a lot for me to completely cover the grip. They give you another back strap. They give you a slimmer one. I've tried both, and to me it feels about the same in my hand, so I just leave the bigger one there because I like the feel of the bigger back strap in my palm. You have your magazine release right here below this grip section. I like the way they do these. It's like it sticks up. It seems like it's sticking up pretty high, but it's not so high that you accidentally get into it when you're holding the firearm. So I've never, even pressing my thumbs hard against the side, you can see it right there, I don't ever get into the magazine release, but it's very easy to access, so it's really nice. I like the texturing on the grip. They've got this little, the larger squares on the front and rear, than they have this tinier ones built into the side. It feels good. That's one thing that I'll say about these pistols. FN has got the feel, the ergonomics on these handguns are really, really good. And the weight and balance on this thing is such that shooting the firearm, to me, is really easy. I mean, I like the 45 ACP cartridge anyway, but if you have a firearm that's balanced really well for shooting that cartridge, it makes it a whole lot better. But like I say, they've gone into great lengths and as far as details on this. You've got your slide cut to fit most of your optics. You've got your cocking serrations. It just seems like they've really done a lot to make this look good and give you the features that you want. So it's got everything that that really you would be looking for in a handgun like this. And as I said, aside from it being a little big, it's got an impressive list of features if you're considering this for carry. All right, let's talk about the range. As a person who's shot a lot of .45 ACP, and I have shot a lot, I've had experiences, especially with 1911s, that they got a little picky with defensive ammo. And even some non-1911 .45 platforms, I've had that same problem. Now, FN says that they have a polished feed ramp and chamber for feed reliability, which I don't know if that's really going to make any difference or not. If you want to polish your feed ramp, the best way to do that is shoot the firearm, and that will polish the feed ramp. But having said that, they have that reliability built in, they say. Now, for the purpose of this test, of course, we start off with some regular ammo, some 230 grain Blazer. This is a pretty good round. I've shot a lot of this, didn't have any issues with that. Also, some of the Winchester White Box. Like I said, this is also a 230 grain range round, and no problems with this. Now, when it comes to defensive ammo for .45 ACP, there's only two that I really like to use, and that's across any platform. And the first one is the SIG V-Crown. This is a 200 grain SIG V-Crown defensive round. Now, I like this one a lot. I actually use this a lot, the 9mm version of this same round. I get really good accuracy with these, and that's the main reason why I go with them. To me, if you're going to practice with a defensive handgun, your accuracy really makes a difference. You need to be able to shoot the gun well. And for some people, there may be different reasons why you shoot one ammo versus, better than another one, but whatever the one you shoot good, I think that's the one you should carry. I'd ignore other claims about how good ammo is. It's bottom line is how well do you shoot it. The Speer Gold Dot, this is another hollow point, .45, 230 grain. I like these quite a bit too. In this case, for this gun, I actually shoot the Gold Dot a little bit better than the SIG. And like I say, it's completely random as to what kind of results I'm going to get in that, but in this case, the Gold Dot seemed to be a little bit better for me. There's lots of other good defensive rounds out there available for .45, so obviously, use what you want to, use what makes sense to you, but I would definitely make sure it's the thing that you shoot the most accurately. The trigger, I wanted to get back to this. I was telling you earlier, they advertise this as a 6-pound trigger, and so you've got your trigger safety here, of course. And then once you actually get the trigger moving, it feels a little, it's not bad, but you have a little gritty, stiff point right here, but then there's this immediate break, and then the reset is really short. Let me show you that again. So we're going to get into here a little, very little bit of travel, and then you've got a really good reset on this. So once you get used to the feel of this trigger, that little wall you have to push through, you don't even feel it. So it's a very good trigger. Using my scale, it did come in at a little over the advertised 6 pounds, which is fine for me because I'm used to a lot heavier trigger pulls than that. So it's a very reliable handgun right out of the box. Very accurate. Like I said, .45s, I shoot .45 well anyway, but the balance of the handgun, you have a really good grip. The weight of the handgun is balanced really well, and I feel like that if you've never shot this handgun before, you could probably get pretty decent results right out of the box after just a couple of magazines. And it also was more comfortable than I thought it would be. A lot of times when I'm shooting .45 or shooting a lot of the larger calibers, it'll start to wear on your hand pretty quickly after a couple magazines, and this is a very comfortable handgun to shoot. So if you want something that you can take to the range regularly and make sure that you're that you're proficient with, and not get beat up in the process. It's good for that as well. So hats off to FN for what looks like a reliable and accurate handgun. So what's it like to carry the FN 545 Tactical as a carry gun? Well, in the beginning, I wanted to start off and I was really emphasizing the size and the weight of the firearm. And that's for a reason, because I know I have plenty of holsters that can support the size, the bulk of the gun. But the weight is something that we need to talk about, okay? Because it's going to make a difference. Now, if you want this handgun and you live in an area where they have magazine limit restrictions, 10-round restrictions, things of that nature, they actually sell a version of this where you can get 10-round magazines for it. So it's be available for a lot of people for that reason. But the 15 rounds here, and then of course you have the 18-round magazine. A full 18-round magazine of 45 ACP is heavy. As a matter of fact, this magazine completely full, feels like it weighs as much as one of my little J-frame Smiths. Like the magazine weighs as much as a gun that I carry most of the time. And that's something you need to think about, because once again, even with a good holster, that's a lot of bulk. But just using a standard, crossbreed Kydex and leather holster, spread the weight out over a couple of clips. I also just used a regular Galco generic leather outside the waistband holster, which was actually a little more comfortable, because that FN holster I had was for another FN pistol, and it's not broke in that well, so it was a little stiff. The Galco leather was soft, and so this is actually able to fit a little closer to the body and contour better. But even with a good belt, this gun was really heavy, and it's like I say, the grip is big. So even if you have it in a good holster, you've got a lot of grip that comes up above the belt line. And if you've actually carried pistols at all in different varieties, you know what I'm speaking to here. This part of the gun is really going to get into you a little bit. Now, if you carry outside the waistband, or if you have other ways to support the gun and protect your body, then you might be able to carry it. And I know a lot of people who carry guns like this, or larger, and they carry in small the back, or they can even carry something like this appendix, depending on what your body composition looks like. But just keep in mind, it is big, it is heavy, and regardless of how good you are at carrying larger firearms, I'm pretty sure that you're going to recognize the weight of this. So just keep that in mind. For me, I think it's a great handgun. I love it, and I think it's the kind of handgun that I'm definitely going to keep around as far as one of my sport or home defense options, that type of thing. But this, to me, is way too heavy for me to carry on a regular basis. So it's not something that I would carry, but there are many that will. Just make sure you have an appropriate holster for it. Overall impressions of the FN 545 Tactical. It's a great handgun. FN has really been hitting it out of the park with the guns they've been releasing over the last several years. Like I said, the FN 509, the 509 Tactical, love them. I just absolutely love those guns. They shoot really well. I think that these latest releases, they've stayed true to the quality and reliability that I saw in those other handguns. You get a lot of features, and of course we need to talk about price. I don't focus too much on price on this channel, but I just like to advise people, because the MSRP on this is $1,139. That ain't cheap. I know people that they won't spend more than $300 or $500 or $700 on a handgun. Everybody has their limit, what they're comfortable with. So you talk to a lot of people about a $1,100+ dollar handgun, and they don't even want to have the discussion after that. And I get that. But for what you're getting, I don't really feel like that's horrible, though, because you got an optics ready handgun, you've got suppressor height sights, you've got night sights, threaded barrel, you got your accessory rail, and it's a very high capacity handgun. But on top of that, it's a good handgun. It's a good shooting handgun. It's reliable and it's accurate, and it's easy for anyone to just pick the handgun up and get good results at the range. You know, if they've never shot a gun before, you know, as long as they can get comfortable with the basics and you know, and get their grip down and those kinds of things, it's just a really good shooting handgun. So I don't necessarily feel like that this is a great carry gun. You know, you've heard me refer to larger guns like this as winter guns, because I'd have to have a coat or something, or a shoulder rig to carry something this large, because I'm just not comfortable carrying a gun this big on the waistband. There are many who can, and you know, if you choose to do that, hats off to you. But for me, this isn't really a carry gun. This is more of a home defense. This is a gun I would carry in a briefcase. This is a gun I would carry on the property, you know, walking around, say outside the waistband, that type of thing. And it's got a lot of great features, so it's definitely something that if you're an enthusiast and you like 45 ACP, I think it's a gun you'd want in your collection. But you'd want to really think about whether it's appropriate for carry just based on the weight, because it'll let you know that it's there. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today. As always, we thank you so much for being with us. We're going to be back very soon with another video for you. So until that time, as always, everybody be safe and have a great day. Thank you.